Today at shop.dap.com, we're going to be showing you how to install a Mark 7 LED taillight harness on a facelift car for Facelift Dynamic LED taillights. Okay, so today we're going to be going over installing this harness. We're not going to be showing you a complete DIY, but we are going to be showing you exactly what you need to do with this harness. If you need a video that shows you how to remove the panels and run the wires, which we do have videos that show you actually how to run the wires, not these specific wires, but another version of our harness. This, just to be clear, this harness is different than all the others, mostly because this car has, from the factory, LED taillights that has different connectors. So these have 8-pin connectors from the factory. The previous generations had 4 on the outer, 5 in the inner. And so to make the LED taillights from Europe, the dynamic ones with the fluid dynamic turn signals, work on a North American car, we had to design an additional harness. So this harness is going to be for doing that. And so let's go ahead and show you the install. Okay, so before we install, let's just go over our layout here. So we have our harnesses all laid out as we list in our instructions. That's from left to right: driver side outer, driver side inner, passenger side inner, passenger side outer. So the outers are actually both the same, the inners are different. So the easiest way to distinguish is this blue wire. The blue wire is going to be found on the passenger side inner, and then you also will see this green wire on the driver side inner. So that is the easiest way to distinguish which one is which. It does list that in the instructions. We also do have notes in the instructions listed below them, just a quick reference guide to where they go in each place. So there are, as you go through, we do include instructions that show you more detail, but if you're just looking for a quick reference, right on the main page, it actually does show you where each pin does go. Okay, so before we go forward with our install, when you start moving around wires in any of these connectors, you need to make sure that these latches are released. So to do so, you can kind of just pop either a screwdriver or a pick in there. Picks are going to work the best because they're the sharpest. And then pop this up. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just go in there, pry it in, and then pop that up. So if these things are not released, you will not be able to get wires into this connector. So that's true for any side of these. On this side, there's a latch for these 2 wires here and the one back here. So you will need to release them if they are latched in place. Okay, so here we are on the passenger outer, and what we're going to do is plug our connector in. And we're going to take our black and yellow wire that are on this. We're going to run it through our vehicle. Pull all that wiring all the way through. And now, this wire, we're not going to be running it in this video because, again, we're not going to be showing you the complete removal of all the trim panels. Again, we will link to a video where we have all those details we can show you. But this is going to run up your C-pillar, across, and up to this boot. You then run it through the boot up here and up to your inner taillight. This will get you to where you need to go. And then we're going to show you, once we get to our inner taillight, we're going to show you what you're going to do with this yellow and black wire. Okay, so here we are on our passenger outer, and we're going to be looking at the adapter harness. This is the part that plugs into the taillight. And so we have our pink wire that we just ran from the passenger side inner light, and we ran it down, and that's going to go into pin 1. And so you lock it in place as so. We did have to release this tab here, so we can latch that back in place because we're all done there. Latch both of those in place because we're all done there. And we can proceed with going to our inner harness. Okay, so one thing I want to touch on is this is the terminal removal tools. This is electrical connector tool as well as included with this kit. We historically actually only had available all the connector tools as a set of 7. They were expensive and not exactly what we wanted to be able to offer. We've finally been able to get it together as such. If you make a mistake on any of this wiring, the reaction that most people have is they panic and they just try to pull the wire out. And usually what they'll do is they'll pull the wire out of the terminal itself which is the worst case scenario because now the terminal gets stuck in the connector and the wire is no longer attached. So you have nothing to pull the terminal out, and you need a complete new connector because you will not be able to get that out. So in this case, we actually made a mistake because we're just doing this for demo, but we will need to close this trunk for taillights. So we didn't run this through the vehicle side. So I'm going to show you what you need to do to actually use this terminal tool. Okay, so terminal tools. They go in the outer edges of the terminal. You're going to have the wire. The wire would go in the middle of it, and then you're going to make sure it's unlatched, and you can pull. You kind of push in and you kind of wiggle it and then pull the wire from the other side. Now this is not always the easiest process and may take a little bit of finagling to get everything out. But it is super important that you don't just yank on these wires, because if you do, they will not come out and you for sure will end up with destroying your harness. And put it back in place. Okay, so now we have our wires. This is our passenger inner harness. We're going to the the passenger side outer harness, and our yellow wire is going to go to pin 8. And we do include a map of the layout here, but this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so we're going to go to pin 4 on the black wire here. A little bit harder to get in right here like so, and we can latch this in place. Okay, so now we're going to show you the driver's side inner, and we're going to go with plugging this in. Now what we would do is run our pink wire down across, down through this boot on the driver's side, through and around down to the driver's side inner harness. Now also one note I want to make is these boots are easily broken. We do have a DIY showing you how to replace at least the passenger side one and then the driver's side one. You actually have to take the rear spoiler off to remove it. So we do discuss that in a little bit of detail. And if you ever break yours, we do have a video which we will link to as well. Okay, so here we are with the driver's side outer harness, and we have the pink wire we ran from the driver's side inner. Pin 1 is the pink wire. And then we can just latch that in place and plug it into our driver's side outer taillight. Okay, so from the driver's side outer, we have our black and yellow. Again, up C-pillar across, up through our boot, and around through here to our inner. And same deal as the other one. Yellow, pin 8, and black is going to go on pin 4. All right, now we have that one in place. We can latch that in, and we can plug it into our taillight. Okay, so this blue wire runs across here. You can tuck it kind of underneath all the motor and stuff like that, run it along. And then we're going to go to pin 6 here on our driver's inner harness. It's all set. And we are going to get all of our connectors plugged into our light and perform our coding. So let's go take a look at our coding. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about coding of our taillights. And we are going to be using our OBDeleven app, and we have our OBDeleven device in the OBD2 port, and we're connected to it. So we're going to go into our device, and now we have a couple options. So with our instructions, we include the details for coding. This is if you want to go through and do manual coding. We also have the OBDeleven app, which if you were doing with a VATCOM, you would need to use the manual stuff. If you're doing it with the app, all you're going to need to do is go to your top left here, go to car, and then you can go to apps. Once you go down to apps, you'll see all the list of all the apps available, and you can scroll down to our harness, DAP Dynamic Turn Signal LED Taillight Harness, and you're going to change it from standard to dynamic. Now, dynamic is for GTIs, and then dynamic Golf R is for Golf Rs. They do have different control modules, and Golf R models will end up with a soft fault in there. It seems to me that actually Golf vehicles have a midline control module versus a highline control module. And so the only way you're going to get rid of that soft fault code, which essentially a soft fault code means everything operates perfectly fine, but if you were to go into the body control module or the convenience control module, you'll see a fault code in there. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't have any problems. There's no functionality issues. It's just there. But the only way to get rid of that, from my estimation of everything I've worked on with this, is by replacing the control module itself. being that it has no impact, I don't see any reason to spend hundreds of dollars replacing a module for a fault that does nothing and doesn't pop up lights in your dash or anything. So just a little note about that. So that's going to be your difference of the dynamic versus dynamic Golf R. Hit dynamic, hold your check mark, and it says success. So you can verify, obviously, before you proceed with driving the car that you have all your turn signals, everything's functioning properly. And if you have that go on and everything's good, now you're all set. Okay, so now we're going to look at the operation of our factory North American market LED taillights. And then here's how the European dynamic LED taillights operate with our harness installed and the coatings performed. Thank you so much for watching our video on how to install our Mark 7 Facelift to Dynamic LED taillight harness. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more like it.